Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of 17 June 2026. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. A recording of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council statutory obligations. Berrigan Shire Council acknowledges traditional custodians of the lands on which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The peoples of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. We have no apologies or leave of absence. Do we have any applications for leave of absence? No. We have no attendance via audio-visual link. Confirmation of previous minutes. We're looking to confirm the minutes of our council meeting in May 2026, our ordinary meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor Dennis, all in favour of confirming those? Thank you, carried. Any disclosures of interest?
Mayor, I have a material conflict of interest at agenda item 9.8, although I do not believe that it's substantial for me to leave the chamber in the circumstances.
Thank you. Councillor Healy?
I declare a pecuniary interest in relation to item 9.7, which is the determination of councillor and mayor fees. I do note that according to the Code of Conduct, section 4.6J, we don't need to declare this, and add that the fee applies to all councillors and is regulated by local government remuneration tribunal. So on this account, I'll remain in the chambers for the discussion and voting.
Okay, thank you.
And on the same, so the charges that will be discussed today, there's one that will apply to me, but again, it's for the public and it's everybody's user, so it should not be a...
In item 9.12? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We have at item 7 a mayoral minute that is for information only relating to the Red Fleet. It's provided to you as an update. There have been changes made, so this is the announcement that came through from Local Government New South Wales. There have been various announcements on this matter. Does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, it's for information rather than even noting.
Just a quick one. Does that actually then impact our bottom line if we're not actually depreciating all of that fleet and everything?
We have done an analysis. It's an immaterial change, but if Ms Fry would like to add anything further to that.
There's a motion that council recommended previously in the prior council that council did not recognise the Red Fleet as an asset on their financial statements, so we don't recognise those assets already, so it won't make any difference to our statements.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? We have no reports of committee, so we'll move to reports to council. And I'd like to propose that unless anyone would like to discuss at length or debate items 9.1 through to 9.5, that we move those as a block. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Dennis. I'll go through each in case anyone has any questions before we put the motion. Number 9.1, actions from previous council meetings. Councillor Payne.
I do have one just in relation to the CCTV. It says on here the 9th of the 6th, 2026. Is there any update on when that is going to... Well, it says CCTV data has been set up to view. Look to review this first before bringing to council. And there's been nothing realistically since January do we have a time frame on when this is going to get actioned and brought forward? Because we're going to end up, 12 months prior to the original, like us wanting it originally, if not longer.
Your infrastructure?
So, yes, we've been reviewing the data the last 3 or 4 months, and I'm gathering that to bring probably a report back in probably 2 or 3 months' time around that.
Okay. Yep. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. 9.2 is the correspondence report for April and May 26. Any questions? 9.3 is the investment report for May 2026. 9.4 are councillor requests, May 2026.
Yes, I have a question with that one,
Yeah,
please.
councillor Healy.
I would just like to request that it's just added to our requests for May. Oh, is that yes? That I have sought some clarity around lighting at Apex Car Park, and it's not a major deal. It was just missed. If we could just add that in to the request list.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Yes, I have received that request. It is incorporated now in the councillor request and will be shown live as of July with an answer.
Cool, thank you.
And 9.5 are development determinations for May 2026. Okay, so we have a motion to accept items 9.1 through to 9.5 in accordance with the recommendations articulated in the relevant reports. All in favour of that motion? Thank you, carried. Okay, we're up to item 9.6, which is the draft rural land use strategy, and Director Community and Development is going to be introducing this report.
Just prior to that, I also may have a conflict of interest, maybe. The area in question, I do own one of the properties.
There's a reasonable assumption that all councillors would have interests insofar as properties within the Shire when strategies are presented to council where those interests are prominent. Unless there is a direct policy change that affects your property individual, then it's noted as a general conflict of interest applicable to all councillors. Thank you for raising it.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Mayor, councillors, this report is seeking council's agreement that we go out on exhibition for a period of 2 months in regards to the regional rural land use strategy. The strategy is a requirement that's been passed on by the department when we sought to review the local environmental plan, but it's also incorporated into our delivery program. The document itself really seeks to introduce 3 fundamental changes to what we would look at within our planning provisions. It seeks to give requirements about how we would assess dwellings within the rural land, how we would assess subdivisions, but also opens up the opportunity in regards to how individual landowners could approach council to seek to rezone some of their land through their own planning proposal. I know what Councillor Dennis outlined. We've actually amended the mapping in regards to the Tocumwal area and removed any form of the aerodrome structure from the identified future mapping. So I don't think you would have land that now would be affected. We would seek to go out for comment, wait to see what any comments are received. As part of this community consultation, I also will be attending forums at each of the libraries, basically a Q&A session to seek any feedback from the community. We would incorporate that into any changes and then seek to come back to council to adopt the document.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from councillors? Councillor Brooker.
More just a note that I noticed on page 14 in the second paragraph, you've noted us in the northern connected basin. We're actually southern.
Thank you. We'll make the change.
I have a question.
Councillor Healy.
Just assuming that the darker areas on the map are currently used for farming, are there any restrictions to continuing farming on land that is looking to be rezoned or potentially rezoned?
Council's not seeking to undertake the rezoning, but the intent is if a landowner wanted to, they could change it from what's called RU1, which allows basically a minimum lot size of 120 hectares, to RU5, still an agricultural purpose and use, and they can still continue any of their existing uses, but it potentially would permit them to apply for smaller lot subdivisions.
Thank you. I'm just noticing under the map for Berrigan, it's could consider to be rezoned to RU4.
Sorry, RU4 for
Okay,
all of
that's
them.
fine.
Sorry.
No, thank you. That makes sense.
Any other questions? Aside from the Q&A sessions that you mentioned, are there other activities we plan to undertake over the 2 months?
Yes, so we've got a draft consultation plan, so obviously we'll go out on all the social medias. We'd like to include information within the paper and any mayoral or CEO comments as well. So we'll do a suite of notification over that 2-month period.
And are we looking at pop-ups? Because they seem to be a little bit more successful as compared to library events.
We're trying to organise times where people can attend on the basis that for officers to be there, because we're going to have to provide some fairly detailed information, and we require experts to provide their opinions in regards to those sort of things. We've scattered the times over different times, different days, so people could attend different towns if they couldn't attend one of the sessions, but we're happy to look at if there's more.
Yep, okay.
Just a suggestion that potentially if you could attend any of the local sporting events throughout the winter, because that's generally where the farmers all gather on the weekends.
Yep, something we can put in the mix.
Yep.
Could I just ask, could we just, I imagine we will receive some overview of what that is, so when we're engaging with community, we can inform them of what's coming up for community to engage with this?
Absolutely,
strategy?
we'll provide the comms plan.
Great, thanks.
And even just a suggestion, if we had some flyers that, as councillors, we can hand to people with dates and times and such, that would be helpful. I appreciate that's using paper. Any other questions? No? Okay, so we have a recommendation. Just a question, is put on notice correct wording in this recommendation, or is it, you mentioned exhibition, Andrew?
Public notice is the correct terminology.
So we should have a recommendation, note that the draft rural land use strategy and the document be put on public notice for 2 months for community feedback and comment.
Be placed on notice, but yeah.
Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, a seconder. Councillor Brooker. Councillor Hannan, would you like to speak in favour?
I think everything's been said. It just gives an opportunity for those that have been requesting this sort of adjustment in the land use strategy over a long period of time, their opportunity now to have their say.
Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, we'll put that motion. All in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, 9.7 is the Mayor and Councillor allowances for 26-27, and this is going to be introduced by the Director of Corporate Services.
Mayor and councillors, this report is the fee for councillors for the 26-27 financial year, which is set by the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal. They set a minimum and maximum allowance. Within the report before you, we have recommended that you adopt the maximum allowance for the Mayor and councillors.
Thank you. Any questions from councillors?
I have a question.
Councillor Healy?
With the budget implication, it's identified that the full increase would raise the budget by $911. Is that because we included a projection for what it could be, and then just in addition,
Correct.
we're out by 911?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll have an immaterial effect on the budget.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a recommendation that the council adopt the following mayoral and councillor allowances effective from 1 July 2026. The councillor allowance of $14,450 and the mayoral allowance of $31,510. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Payne, would you like to speak in favour, Councillor Natikoa?
No, I still think it's far below what we should be getting, given that we're all juggling full-time jobs or other commitments, and that the significant commitment that is required to attend the meetings.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, we'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you, carried. 9.8 is a leave request from our CEO, Cameron Baldwin. I think we can take that as read. It's a reasonably simple recommendation, which is that we approve leave request for the CEO from 13 July to 17 July 2026 and appoint Andrew Fletcher, acting CEO, for the duration of the leave period with all delegated authority of the position. Councillor Hannan has moved that. Councillor Brooker has seconded. Anyone? Questions, comments? No. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. We're up to item 9.9, which is the Riverina Regional Library Service Deed of Agreement 26 to 2030. And Director of Community and Development will be introducing this. Thank you.
Mayor, councillors, this is the agreement for the next 4 years with the Riverina Regional Libraries. We've been with them now for approximately 2 years. We think it's been a very successful relationship. It opens up our libraries to an avenue of other information and is we think a better fit for our community. I will let you know that this deed of agreement has been through extensive consultation with the group of councils that are party to it. There have been some improvements in relation to it based on previous learnings, but this report's put to you on the basis that we would sign the deed of agreement for the next 4 years.
Any questions? No? Okay, so the recommendation is that Council authorise its seal to be affixed to Riverina Regional Library Deed of Agreement 26 to 2030 in the presence of 2 signatories authorised to affix the seal, being the Mayor and the CEO, pursuant to Clause 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Everyone. Councillor Brooker, seconded Councillor Nadakoa. Anyone wish to speak in favour or against? Councillor Brooker?
I am on the Regional Rural Libraries Committee. Unfortunately, the last meeting that they had, which had the final changes, I did miss due to it conflicted with a council meeting, but there has been a lot of engagement and changes, and I feel it's a valuable resource for our community.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, we'll put that motion. All in favour?
Yep.
Thank you. Carried. Item 9.10 is the Tokemore Foreshore Building, and this will be introduced by our CEO.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. I don't intend to go through the varied and extensive history of the Tokemore Foreshore Building. What I will do is talk about the future use and the reason why we are bringing this report to you. We currently have 3 commercial tenancies operating in the Foreshore Building, in addition to the Visitor Information Centre. We have recently undertaken discussions with 2 of those, or 3 of those tenancies in fact, in regards to lease renewals. One we recently signed back in April, and we are currently in the process of discussing a renewed term of lease for the Bend restaurant. The intention is that, and I take this as a community intention as much as a council intention, to retain the existing tenancies as much as possible and to support them as commercially viable to ensure their businesses are successful. They do provide an interesting diversity of hospitality and retail offerings to the community of Tokemore and the visitors who come to Tokemore. But in order to do that, it has been brought to our attention that the building does need to be improved to meet the expectations of such tenancies, and to ensure that we can provide the right safety standards for users of the building. Specifically, there is a number of issues that we have identified in the building through a comprehensive audit of the building services and maintenance, including waste disposal and drainage, particularly as it applies to the kitchen in the Bend restaurant on the first floor. There is significant improvements we need to make in regards to pest control management. There is a number of safety compliance matters that need to be addressed, including electrical compliance testing and improvements of fire safety systems, and there are a number of other building service and tenancy requirements which are listed in the report. The reason we are bringing this to your attention is to ensure that there is transparency over this publicly owned asset to the community of Tokemore, to ensure that the community understands that we have an obligation to them and the tenants to maintain this building, to get it up to an appropriate standard, And then, subject to council approval, we will begin further negotiations with particularly the Ben Restaurant on a longer-term tenancy agreement. The proposal is to seek approval for up to $200,000 to undertake these important maintenance works, and that will come out of the existing maintenance budget, which hopefully council will adopt later this meeting. Importantly, it's to note is that to carry out these maintenance work, there will have to be a temporary relocation of the Visitor Information Centre, which is currently on the ground level, and that is predominantly for access to the first floor to undertake the drainage works that I've mentioned and other electrical, air conditioning and heating works as detailed in the report. The recommendation that we have included in this report is to temporarily relocate the Visitor Information Centre to the Tocumwal Library to undertake a pilot program of the library as a community hub type of facility to determine visitations, the type of inquiries we're receiving, the staff interactions, and to bring all of that data back to this council with recommendations for a longer term solution to the Visitor Information Centre post the completion of the maintenance works at the Foreshore building. So with that report, I'm very happy, Mayor, to take any further questions or provide any further information.
I know Councillor Dennis had a question on the register pursuant to 3.32 of the Code Meeting Practice. So Councillor Dennis, would you like to table that?
I did have a question. I've noticed it's not being put on the register, so I don't have that reply.
I have been advised it is on the register.
I just had a look just then. I literally just had a look then. I still haven't seen it, so yeah.
But I'm happy to answer the question if you want to answer it in this forum.
So in the report of relocating the Visitor Information Centre as a temporary relocation for maintenance, as you've pointed out, I have noticed that you've also put this as a pilot program. So both are two separate things. Is it just a relocation on the actual fact that it's maintenance, or is it a pilot program as well as a relocation? So there are two different things we seem to be actually raising here.
I would contend they're exactly the same thing. So insofar as closing the existing Visitor Information Centre, there will be extensive signposting directing anyone who visits that facility to the temporary facility at the library. There will also be some interactive displays through QR codes and other material to provide information in a general tourist sense, and we'll ensure that the signposting at both venues is prominent and clearly understood so that visitors can ascertain where the library location is and use their facilities. The reason why we are talking specifically from a pilot program is that whilst we do collect and analyse visitor data at the VIC, we want to do exactly the same thing at the library. This is the first time that a library has been providing, if subject to council approval, visitor information services. So we need to determine a few things. One is the adequacy of staff training and their knowledge, two, the utilisation of the library in a temporary facility, and three, whether or not the location is providing adequate direction and stimulus to visitors to use that, so we can come back to you with recommendations on what a future proposal might look like.
Other questions?
Yeah,
Councillor Hannan?
I've got a question. You've got a, in the recommendation it's capped at $200,000. What happens if the works exceed $200,000? Are you going to come back to council for a further resolution, or does that sort of tie our hands to potential, or potentially those works extending out because you'd have to come back to council?
We would be quite confident that that is a generous amount. In fact, we have assessed the works under the $200,000 mark. We're making for allowances based upon contingencies which normally occur through such ventures. If there is substantial and material changes, yes, of course, we will come back to council, but we will be providing guidance around the tender documents of the expectation, and that will be subject to an open procurement process. If there is any material changes, we will have to make adjustments through an appropriate process to yourselves.
Further to that, if I could, if those, obviously those assessments are done, are they going to be done on a weekly or a fortnightly basis, so that, being that, you know, that there's going to be disruptions to service, obviously council would prefer to know sooner rather than later if those funds are going to be needed?
Certainly, we'll take that on notice, and we'll provide any necessary information and updates accordingly.
Councillor Dennis, you had another question?
I think Councillor
I've got a
Stringer
few
beat me
here,
to
hang
that.
on. You can go first, then we'll go Councillor Payne, then we'll go Councillor Stringer.
So with the pilot program, and sorry, and you've identified you believe the two are the same, has that been portrayed to the public previously about a pilot program? Has there been any consultation around that? There's been consultation in the past with the relocation outright, but not the relocation temporary and a pilot program. And I have two folds in that question. If there's maintenance that's required to be done for the building, does that include improvements to the visitor centre for things like shelving and to actually improve things that have been raised before that are a reason why they were going to relocate in the first place?
Well, I think my understanding of the building works is we firstly need to ensure that there is minimal disruption to the existing tenants. They are commercial businesses, and although we are in a relatively quiet winter period, these works, as much as we would want to get them completed as early as possible, there is a high likelihood that they will be extending into spring and potentially summer. So the first point is we want to make sure that there is minimal disruption to the existing tenants. The reason why the VIC is required to be closed, as I mentioned, is we need access to the roof cavities and particularly the drain in the kitchen, which is directly above the VIC. And I'm sure that anyone who is visiting Tokemore and the Foreshore building more specifically does not want to be enjoying any of the facilities with building works quite visible, open, and causing the understandable disruptions. So most of the buildings work will be inside the VIC and access will be internally, and we'll try and minimise any visual or other pollution through utilisation of that facility. Insofar as rectifying the VIC, as you've stipulated, that will be subject to the assessment based upon the end maintenance requirements, what actually we end up with at the building, to determine whether or not we can utilise that facility more effectively, whether we can address some of the OH&S issues which has been brought to council previously, and whether there's any other further rectifications that we can make. So I have to be quite specific. I think the pilot program is the correct terminology because we are doing something which hasn't been done before, and we need to assess its effectiveness and whether or not this could be a different solution to a visitor information centre. Communication will be subject to approval by council. We can't communicate something that we haven't got approval to do at this stage, but I've made it very clear that all stakeholders will be contacted. There will be extensive signage and interaction with the community around the intention, the purpose, the reasoning, and hopefully the period of the temporary relocation, and we will make sure that that is visible and as prominent as appropriate in the circumstances.
Okay, Councillor Payne.
We asked for a report for a co-location and consultation and other details, but now we're being asked to approve what I see as a backdoor pilot without that information. I don't, it literally states that the future
Can
options...
we make sure we're not debating question?
I do have a question of the scope creeping. At what time frame do you see or have you been provided for the construction period and for this pilot program?
Respectfully, Deputy Mayor, I'd have to reject the sentiment that this is a backdoor pilot. We are dealing with a very different thing. There has been a number of reports that have been presented to council regarding the VIC relocation, separate from the maintenance requirement at the Foreshore building. The precipice to this was that when we were contacting the existing tenants in regards to potentially looking at a longer term lease, matters of the building condition and the maintenance were presented to us, which required us to conduct a full audit of the building to ensure that it met the expectations of the tenants and it also met the community and safety expectations and requirements. That was the issue that brought us to this situation. Whilst I can understand the sentiment of council that previous reports brought to council on the relocation, I will be quite firm that that is not related to this matter. This is a matter that has occurred because of the condition report, the necessary building works we need to undertake to continue the negotiation on a commercial basis with the tenants, and that the coincidental location of the kitchen on the first floor requires us to go through the roof, and unfortunately the VIC will have to be closed to affect those works. The option for council is that if you approve the maintenance, we have given you some other options in there, then the VIC can remain open if it is going to be a longer-term maintenance program. The disruption to the existing tenants, I think, would be more significant in that environment, and it would certainly not be something I'd be recommending. However, to get it done, to have minimal disruption, to get to a situation where we can now look at a longer-term lease and utilisation of the building, our recommendation is quite profound. The sentiment from council is to have a VIC in Tokemore. We have a library. We want to test what that looks like in a temporary capacity, come back with the data, and council can make a decision on a longer-term solution at that point.
Thank you. My question was as well, what is the perceived time frame for this construction and the pilot pit?
We don't know, councillor. When we go to tender, the builders or the successful contractor will tell us that. We would hope that it would be something 3 to 4 months. It could be longer, but we would be wanting to get this started, subject to council approval, as soon as possible, completed even sooner.
Thank you.
Councillor Stringer.
In here, the whole thing is listed as maintenance, but it's not all maintenance. Some of it's repair. And my question is, do we have any form of comeback on the builder from original?
My understanding, councillor Stringer, is no. I couldn't even comment as to the current status, nor liquidity, nor insurance status of the existing builder. Considering, and it is not an insubstantial amount, but in reality it is a modest amount, considering the cost of litigation, if we were to pursue the builder through either an insurance claim or through a civil claim, I could be quite confident that the fees associated with that would far outstrip the requested budget in these circumstances. So it's not something that I would recommend.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Okay, I understand that, but wouldn't the builder have building insurance? Like for that sort of reason, the same when they build a house, your house is under their insurance for 7 years or...
I'm happy to deflect to Mr Fletcher, but my understanding is the status of the builder is unknown. If they did have builder's warranty insurance, we would not be pursuing the builder, we'll be pursuing an insurance company, and that might be even more costly and time-consuming litigation.
I've got a follow-up question to that. Do we have our own building insurance that we can consider exercising?
It wouldn't be an insurable event.
Okay. Councillor Healy.
Would the temporary location of the VIC to the library coincide with increased opening hours for the Tokemore Library for this period? What would that be? What would those opening hours now be?
Yes, the opening hours of the Tokemore Libraries will be consistent with the current opening hour of the VIC, including 4 hours on Saturdays and Sundays. And that will be open for all library services.
Just as somebody that doesn't use our local VIC, what are the current opening hours of that?
I might have to...
Is it a 5 day a week?
No, 7 days a week.
7 days a week,
Yes.
right, so the library would be open 7 days a week?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
thank
10
you.
to 4 on weekdays, I believe.
Thank you.
I just one last one if I could. So if council wasn't to go ahead with the pilot of the relocation of the Visitor Information Centre, could one assume that the Visitor Information Centre would be shut for up to 3 to 4 months entirely?
We are proposing that that is the only temporary option, but we'd be very welcome to other options. But considering the works that are currently being undertaken at the Tokemore Library, it does make sense, and that's why we are recommending this subsequently. The other matter that is important to note is that we have just completed a recruitment of new library and customer service staff, and we have incorporated into their PD's flexibility around providing visitor information services, which is part of the pilot program to determine whether or not we can get greater flexibility and utilisation of the staff. So if council decides to segment the recommendation, such as the maintenance but not necessarily establishing a temporary VIC at the library, then that is certainly something that we will endorse from council's wishes.
Any other questions from councillors?
I just have one
Councillor
more,
Healy.
sorry. In regards to the current volunteers and VIC staff member, will there be any negative impact on them with it moving? Will any of them lose the opportunity to volunteer at the new location or work at that new location?
No, quite the contrary. I've spoken to most of them. They are very excited about the proposal and are very much interested under the situation I gave with to Councillor Hannan's answer of being more ingrained in providing a broader range of services. So we might actually have an efficiency uplift from our staff.
Okay, thank you.
One more, Councillor Stringer.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is the right time or not, but it's about the rent on the tenants.
That's not for this
Yeah.
discussion today.
For this.
Oh, it is something I can answer,
Okay.
because I have met with the owners of the Bend in relation to this matter once the agenda was made public. They have given in principle indication of our desire to vary their rent terms with a view that their rent terms will become commercially aligned in a period of time. They understand our reasoning for that. They also understand that we will be reviewing the lease based upon the requirement for them to have a greater emphasis on their own maintenance of their premises. So I can with confidence say that in principle they have acknowledged and agreed to that. However, we have not begun formal lease negotiations. I can't do that until I get indication from council as to this particular matter.
Yeah. All right. So, are we going to charge them full rent from the commercial rent from the time that this is all done and dusted?
That's not for today.
No, that
That's
will be
not for
subject
today.
to a report probably at the July council meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a recommendation that council endorse the proposed maintenance program for the Tocumwell Foreshore building to ensure the facility remains fit for purpose and responsive to current and future tenancy requirements. Note that the maintenance works will be funded through council's existing annual maintenance budget, with expenditure managed and prioritised within the overall maintenance allocation for the 26-27 financial year, and approve the temporary relocation of the Visitor Information Centre to facilitate the delivery of the maintenance program. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, a seconder? Councillor Stringer? Councillor Hannan, would you like to speak in favour?
I'd just like to say that obviously that building that we are custodians of has been a great addition to the Tocumwell community and attracted a lot of visitors to our area over a long period of time. It's an extremely valuable asset in the hospitality industry, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, all buildings do need maintenance or repairs at times, and if we want that to be a successful enterprise going forward for all those businesses, we need to show our investment towards the maintaining of that building. And to point three, I think it gives us, and by doing that maintenance at the facility and having an area to relocate the Visitor Information Centre gives us a prime opportunity to test what that looks like going forward. Whether it's a pilot or whether it's however the community perceives it, it does give a great opportunity for both the volunteers and the people that run the VIC, as well as those that use it, to see if it will work in the future. Alternatively, we just shut the Visitor Information Centre for 3 to 4 months. That leads into our busy time. I don't think that's a positive outcome for the community or our Greater Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Hannan. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Dennis.
It's not necessarily against it, it's about the wording of the recommendation. So my understanding of the recommendation, it does not include a pilot program in the recommendation, it just includes the temporary moving of the Visitor Information Centre. So if that recommendation goes through and I need to make an amendment for that?
It doesn't say pilot, so that doesn't require an amendment. Did you wish to comment, CEO?
I think it's implied, but I'm happy for a comfort factor from councillors if you want to include the words approve the temporary relocation and pilot program. But I don't think we need to do that, but I'm more than happy if that's a comfort factor to
I
councillors.
don't think we want the pilot program in the wording.
No,
I think
it's
that was
not
the
for
point.
inclusion, it's for exclusion.
Could I ask a question on that? I feel like we've been provided with papers in the past regarding the relocation of this VIC to the library, and part of our concern was that we didn't know what that would look like and the risks or the benefits to doing that. And So I disagree that we don't want this to be seen as a pilot, in that the temporary move allows us to see whether this is something that works for the users of the VIC and the community. There will be benefits both ways, particularly around that increased library opening hours. So I actually think, I don't know whether we're getting caught on something that is important for us to give us the information that we need around the location of our visitor information centre. I hope I'm making sense.
I actually think the word pilot is what is loaded. I agree with you that we've got an opportunity, even though, you know, that's a generous word, in that we do need to relocate or close the VIC, and in that relocation we will garner some further information and feedback from the community, whether they like it or they don't.
Right, and I think also from the user perspective, and I know one of the concerns that has been raised with me from locals around that move, they can see the benefits, but one of the queries they had, I wouldn't say concerns, but where are people going to park? For example, this is that opportunity for us to see how it does impact parking in the Main Street area. So I know what you're saying, it's not an opportunity as such, but we're in a position where it's presented us with the chance to see and to measure if this is effective or not.
Yeah, without making a permanent decision.
Correct.
Yeah. Councillor Dennis.
In saying that, there's, I guess, two folds to that, is that my concern is that the information used for the pilot program takes away from the voice of the community, and it will be used as more so evidence without consultation of the community to actually move the visitor information centre permanently.
So our decision today that we're debating is not about a permanent move, and that will come in the future.
Yeah.
So your point is taken, but that's not for today. Councillor Hannan.
Yeah, I just, look, happy for the community's goodwill to understand what this program is about. As a visitor information centre, understanding that the maintenance of the building is the number one option.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the number one option that we need to consider. The second one is the temporary relocation or pilot. If we do put the word pilot into the recommendation, it does give us an extra opportunity to extend the life of the visitor information centre being the library, whereas if it's temporary, we may well, particularly the community may well assume that as soon as we shut the doors that bang, they go straight back there. So I'm happy as the mover to add the word pilot in there as opposed to temporary, to put some faith in the community there that they understand that we will have a period of time of piloting this in the library, not that it's just going to go straight back to the Visitor Information Centre, because it's already been highlighted that there is some considerations within the Visitor Information Centre if it was to go back in there straight away.
And who's our seconder?
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Stringer, do you agree to that? No. Okay. So would you like to move an amendment?
Yeah, I'm
Look for a
happy to move an
seconder?
amendment. Yep.
Do we have a seconder for that move? Councillor Natakawa. Okay, so now we need to put to the vote the inclusion of that amendment, which would be approve the temporary relocation of the Visitor Information Centre. So approve the temporary relocation and pilot program. There's some wording in there that I've not got correct.
That's right.
No, approve the temporary relocation of the Visitor Information Centre and a pilot to facilitate the delivery of the maintenance program with a pilot program for the relocation to occur in tandem. I hope someone wrote that down.
Hang on, approve the temporary relocation.
So councillors, in a moment, what we will be putting to the vote is only whether those additional words are in the motion, and we will debate on that, and then we will go back to debating the full picture. Mm-hmm. Does everybody understand that process? So we're clear? Yep. So we're just waiting for the words on the screen.
As the mover of the amendment, can we add a period of time for that pilot program so that the community both understand that it's not an ongoing process as well?
Okay, so we've got approve the temporary relocation of the visitor information to facilitate the delivery of the motor program with a pilot program to occur in tandem, not facilitate the temporary relocation, to occur in tandem.
And the reason I would suggest...
Okay, OCC, you are.
The reason I would suggest that, because the CEO in his original delivery was saying that it's a 3 to 4 month potential, maintenance program at the facility. I'm not quite sure that we want to be relocating back the visitor information centre to cause further disruption if that period of time is correct. So if we put a period of, say, January next year that we would relocate the visitor, like the pilot would end and we would assess it, then that would give us an opportunity, I believe, to not cause too much further disruption once the maintenance is done to the building.
To occur in tandem until
I would
no
say
later
January
than
27.
no later than January 2027. Okay,
That should give us enough data, I would have thought.
CEO.
I certainly understand Councillor Hannah's sentiment. I would not recommend that for reasons that if the building works do or are delayed, then we will have to bring a further resolution extending or seeking extension of the temporary relocation. But I fully appreciate the sentiment. But if we are going to put a time limit on, then I do foreshadow that if we do experience delays, we will have to further amend that.
The incur in tandem actually allows you to take the same amount of time as the maintenance.
Do they plan, so if we approve this today, with this recommendation of keeping the pilot program going, are they going to plan to move into the library, say, tomorrow, or is it going to be after we've sought tender and work's progressing?
It won't occur until the works commence. So that will go through the tender, we'll appoint a contractor, and once we've got a schedule of the works commencing, that's when we'll do the relocation. So that could be several weeks away.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so our mover and the seconder on the amendment, are you happy with the wording? And that is in the third point there, the changes to that? Councillor Hannan?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we are voting merely on the rewording of the three. Did you want to speak in favour again, although we have spoken quite a bit on it?
No, I think we're right. I think you can just put the amendment, dot point 3.
Okay, so the amendment only on that third point. Please hold your hands high. All in favour of the inclusion of the pilot program to occur in tandem? Okay, against? That's failed. So we go back to the original motion now. I get 2 votes. Okay, back to the original. All right, so our original was Councillor Hannan and Councillor Stringer. Anyone wish to say anything further in favour of what we have? Anyone wish to say anything against? Councillor Brooker.
So I just have a concern that we've found $200,000 in the budget to do emergency repairs to the building, but there's other buildings in the Shire that still have issues that haven't been done for multiple years. That's probably not a question, but yeah, just, how did we find $200,000 for that when there's other buildings we still haven't got, and what's going to be not repaired in the next 12 months to allocate the $200,000 for that?
It is a very good question, Councillor Brooker, and we will undertake all analysis of the budgets to identify further savings so that we can offset this amount and ensure that the maintenance budget reaches the expected threshold that has been consistent with past budgets. I can't give you a firm answer at this stage because we haven't undertaken that work, but I completely agree with the sentiment, albeit as I articulated in the report, we do need to be conscious of the commercial tenants, and we could not enter good faith negotiations unless we had a commitment from council one way or the other on this particular proposal.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll put the motion. Thank you everyone for your input on this one. So All in favour of the motion as it is articulated on our screen? Hands up, please. Thank you, carried. We're up to item 9.11, which is the Water and Sewer Annual Charge Review, rescission of previous motion, and we have our CEO.
Thank you very much, Mayor and councillors. I'm presenting this report to seek revision of a motion that was adopted by council at the 18th of March 2025 meeting, and I just note that I have brought the wrong report with me, so I will try and remember this report as best as possible. This report related to a report that was presented by, by an independent contractor of council at the time, with little internal consultation and did not follow due process, of which we have taken some learnings away from that particular matter and adopted and improved our process accordingly. What was presented to you at that meeting was incorrect data and an incorrect schedule of fees applicable particularly to the sewer charges. For councillors, you may recall that a table was presented with a recommendation to adjust fees based upon the access pipes from the residents and businesses to our sewer system. And included in that table was a schedule of 7 different sizes of access pipes. That is completely and utterly incorrect, because within this shire and the standard throughout the state is there is one access size being 100 millimetres. So being the case that a report was presented seeking a schedule based upon the size differential, that information was completely incorrect, and accordingly we are seeking this report to be subject to your removal. We have made, as I said, the necessary adjustments internally. We have made the adjustments in the budget, and we again note that this has been a learning that has resulted in a process improvement.
Any questions? Councillor Natikoa.
Will a new report come to council with the corrected data?
It is at agenda item 9.14. Is that correct? It is on the agenda today, yes.
Okay.
9.14. What's the last agenda items? 9.13, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, our recommendation is to rescind the motion of agenda item 8.12 adopted at the 18 March 2026 council meeting in relation to this matter. I do note, by the way, that Councillor Hannan has momentarily left the room. We've recorded that. Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Natikoa. Anyone wish to speak? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, we're up to item 9.12, which are the integrated planning and reporting requirements for adoption for 26-27, and our Director, Community and Development, will be introducing this.
Mayor, councillors, this report is to seek the adoption of the integrated planning and reporting frameworks. This is probably the largest work that council undertakes annually in regards to setting its framework of what it wants to achieve. This year we've updated and amended the delivery program, which needs to still be consistent with the community strategic plan, and then obviously we've set the new operational plan for 26-27. Included in the suite of documents that council is seeking to approve would be the statement of revenue, which includes also the capital works programs, but also the fees and charges. Noting from the last conversation that we have sought to make a change there in regards to the fees and charge, and that we'll be only charging from the 20 millimetre access charge for water and sewer. So that change has been recommended within this. We're also seeking to adopt the long-term financial plan, which has been updated and provided that information to council. This information has been on notice for 28 days. We have received one submission, which you've heard from, in regards to the truck wash charges, and council officers have also made a change in regards to the fees for the burial and cemetery costs associated with stillborn and infant deaths not to be charged. So the information is put to you. Happy to take any questions in relation to it in regards to those documents to be adopted.
Could you clarify for us the truck wash charges?
Yep, truck wash charge in the fees and charges that is listed hasn't been amended, but I'll defer to Director of Infrastructure to provide some information in regards to the actual charges.
Yep.
Yeah, so the actual charge, the rate was based on the items for just recovering costs for those two truck washers. And based on the assessment that was done, based around 2-hour water usage at those truck wash, it looked at 600 litres of water to be used, and it looked at how much electricity, what assets we use, pump, how we get the water from, say, example, Finley, from the lake all the way out to the truck wash and all those assets there. And we looked at the pump maintenance, renewal costs and administration costs. And with that, it come back that we thought it was about $192 for that 2 hours. And we based that around our fee, just at cost recovery.
So we come out square is your position?
Yeah.
But we've not seen this information in writing before, have we?
No.
Okay.
So
Others may have questions on this, I'm sure.
yeah, so but taking on note around what they raised around raw water and unfiltered water and filtered water, I would just need to probably confirm that what rate that our water and sewer guys used to make sure it was a filtered water rate versus an unfiltered water rate when they did this exercise.
Thank you. On that particular topic, perhaps we'll take questions first. Councillor Hannan?
So in saying that, there could be a variation, are you saying, if it is charged at a filtered water rate as opposed to an unfiltered water rate?
Yeah, so there would be two different rates, a filtered water rate and an unfiltered water rate, yes.
So there could be a variation in the charge?
Yeah, because as you've probably seen with all the adjoining
Because it does seem,
truck washers.
Yeah, if it's unfiltered, it does seem there's a fair gap between.
Yeah, because as you've seen with all the adjoining shires, there is unfiltered and filtered rates at a lot of the water treatment plants, and it ranges from, like they said, 95 cents right through to $6.70. So,
So we need the clarification on whether it has been charged out of that first.
Yeah.
Can I just say on that topic, I just discussed with the CEO, and this is by no means debate, we do have an option, if we choose to adopt today's plans, etc., to carve out that fee, continue on existing until such a time as we receive a report that clarifies all those issues.
I
ahead,
do have a
Councillor
couple of
Hannan.
questions. So biosecurity risk was raised numerous times today by both the operators and obviously relevant through you guys as directors. Is there an increased risk in biosecurity whether you use filtered or unfiltered water? Yes. There is?
Yes.
Okay.
How's that?
Depends on the time from when you've hosed down the truck with unfiltered water to when you put stock back within it. So if you've actually don't have a long enough lead time and you've still got water within it, it isn't good for stock.
Okay, so a further question to that is that then should we be using filtered water in that facility as opposed to unfiltered water?
There's no requirement,
No,
it's on
I
the
understand
operator.
that,
Yeah.
But we're a heavily agricultural industry. We've spent a lot of money in debate over making sure that the sale yards are still operational in our community. I think we have a moral obligation, if not anything, to make sure that we are preventing biosecurity outbreaks in our community as much as possible. That's just...
So it's a question about what is best practice.
Correct. And sorry, the last question is, have we spent any maintenance money or any upgrades to the entries into the actual truck wash area, and Dales Road included? Do we have any works that are proposed due to the increased usage potentially? Like $280,000, I haven't done the numbers, but obviously last year it was used a hell of a lot. So that's a lot of B doubles going down that road. Do we have a maintenance program? Is that Dales Road and potentially where it's been asphalted, is it failing, or do we look like we have to spend some money in there in the future? I'm just trying to validate why we are going excess charges.
Around the maintenance side of it, I'd have to go back to and look on there, but we have had to do a fair bit of heavy patching on that asphalt, especially in the turning movement areas around that. You got the concrete areas where they turn, but there's also other areas where they turn on the asphalt.
So we need to take that into consideration as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's where, when we look at the asset and renewal capital works, we look at all the assets,
Yeah.
the road, the pump, the pipeline, and all that, which adds up to what?
Fair
a
play.
fair bit. Hence, a lot of truck water treatment plants are in different locations in towns. That's why there's a variation of different rates for access to those truck washers.
Okay, councillor Dennis, is this on the truck wash issue before we move to anything else? Go ahead.
My question is, if with the lesser usage, because the trucks are avoiding that area, would that increase the cost? But a higher usage, wouldn't that lower the costs? Would those two balance out financially?
I'm not too sure where they're getting the data about that trucks not using this truck wash, because we're getting a number of complaints that trucks are storing their trucks and just leaving the trailers there to wash, and we have to chase up the operators to try and move those trailers so the next one can come in and actually wash those trucks. So we've had more complaints around trying to get to wash at these truck washers.
So financially, a higher use would lower the costs to a low use, which would increase.
Not necessarily, because the more water you're going to use, so you're still going to have this usage rate as what it's only based on the example of that 2 hours. So when you have another 2 hours, you're still going to have that same sort of amount of usage of water going through that point of time that you're going to charge back.
And more people on the roads.
Councillor Natakawa.
I guess fundamentally, why is there a mismatch in what they're actually being charged and what's listed in our fees and charges? It seems like...
For the past financial year,
Yeah,
current
for the
one.
past financial year. It seems to be a broader issue, which I'm sure we will discuss further. But so Beck was stating that they get charged $1.36 at the moment, but our fees and charges say $1.50. Why is there already a mismatch in the data? If we are charging out at $1.36, yet we're saying we're charging at $1.50.
I'll have to check out that process and make sure that we look at what failed around that $1.36 and not getting adopted to the $1.50, so yeah.
Thank you.
Normal process for all fees and charges is once council makes a decision, 1st of July, those fees and charges are then rolled out through the organisation, and those fees and charges are then updated online. So depending on what happens here today, then that would be part of the process moving forward.
Councillor Healy.
Just a couple of questions, because we are a regional outlier with our fees, and just clarity around what you said before around the biosecurity risk of filtered versus unfiltered water. So we're the regional outlier in terms of what we're charging for unfiltered water rates. You're giving me a confused look, in that we're charging quite above what other councils are charging for their truck washers, where they're providing unfiltered water.
Yeah, I'll have to come back to you around that, because a lot of the draft fees and charges that are out at the moment, some of them aren't specifying unfiltered water, which raises the point around best practice that Matt raised. So some of these councils might be only using filtered water now, and that's hence why they're only showing filtered water on their fees and charges.
Right, and my second question is, is there the option of providing tiered rates or lower base rate for regional livestock or agricultural carriers? So the ones that require multi-hour washouts, or like we heard from one of the business owners today, 3 trucks by 3 washers each per week. Is there a tiered system that could be provided, or no, that's not practice across?
That's not practice at the moment, but we could look
Yeah.
at that going forward around when we do our service reviews in more detail going forward. Around
Councillor-
these different options.
Councillor Brooker has a question.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask, are the fees for the truck wash charged by a third party through a third party system, or is council invoice them out?
Third party.
Okay, Councillor Stringer?
Yeah, at the costing you mentioned before, it works out by my calculation that it costs us $1.06 a minute, and we're charging $1.36 a minute. I don't see where there's a problem here. Is that, are my figures right there?
I'd have to have a look at your figures and vary of what's going on,
Yeah.
because I'm not too sure what you use for that $1.06.
Only the figure of 190 for 2 hours and break it down to the minute, that means our costing is $1.06 a minute, and we're charging $1.36 a minute. And if they're doing multiple washouts, they're also doing multiple trips. So it evens itself out there.
Yeah.
And if it's costing us $1.06, how can other shires be selling it for 85 cents?
As I said, it depends where their truck wash is located and where their water's getting from. Because we're getting our water from the Murray system,
Yeah.
then transfer it to Murray Irrigation, then into the two Berrigan and Finley towns. So you got different rates for different water. So yeah, and then you got your different pumps and your different water treatment plants and assets. So every council's not going to have the same around cost recovery in that space.
Okay, I think we've exhausted the questions on the truck wash and we've got a potential option in any event. Any questions on any other matters relating to these plans?
Yes.
Councillor Healy.
I have a few. Thank you for these. Just, you know, I'm curious about how the fees and charges are set, and I know we have spoken about this before. Sitting on some 355 committees prior to being a councillor and currently representing council, I know that some of them set fees and are asked to set fees and send them in to council, and then when I've checked them with our fees and charges, they're not in line. So I'm just wondering how, because I know there's no blanket rule because we have different facilities, different things that we're setting charges for and fees.
So in relation to the committees, council will ask each committee to provide their fees for it.
Yeah.
Not all information is provided from all committees. Then the officers will actually consider all fees that have been provided, try and find an equitable rate. So in effect, if you're hiring a hall in Finley, it should be roughly the same figure as hiring a hall in Berrigan. And then council officers will enter the rate within the fees and charges. All fees and charges are to the council to set the fee. So yes, we seek advice from the committees, but it's on council to determine the fee it sets for each of those.
Okay, so where the fees that we've set are higher than what the committee has put to us, do they have to charge the maximum, what we've set, or can they charge what they had agreed or wanted to do?
So once the fees and charges are adopted, it should be on the committees to charge the fee that has been adopted. Now, there is discretion afforded there, say for if you're a non-for-profit or you're not a business, you can ask for that fee to be waived, but all committees should be charging the fees that have been adopted by council.
Okay. There are some specific ones that, you know, I can reference, and one with regards to our swimming pools, which across the three, there's some differences. But when I was speaking to committee members from our local pool committees, we have listed in our fees and charges that the pool entry fee for a child or concession is $3.63. You know, and I know that that's not reasonable. I'm not going to go and pay $3.63 for my child to go and use the pool at Finley when they do their sports carnival. It doesn't seem like a sensible amount, but also my understanding is they don't actually have a child or concession fee, and it's just a user fee. And so some of the fee schedules don't seem to even match with how they're, like, there's no difference between whether you're a child or concessional swimmer.
Yeah.
There is that we have got in there non-swimmers are free, I could see that.
So, first thing, we wouldn't charge a 63-cent amount, we would always
Correct.
round up. We'd also apply a CPI rate to it to determine that it is at least getting towards the same user charges that you would apply to others.
Yeah.
In relation to the way that the fees are set, we use an LG Pro system, and through that system it doesn't allow us to segregate at the present moment in time in regards to the different age for the user. However, that is something that we could contemplate and insert into next year's fees and charges, and or you could alter the recommendation to make a specific charge variation
Yeah, for the specific-
children to gain access to all swimming pools within the Shire. My recommendation is and it's clearly council's decision, would be that you would charge the same rate for children to enter all pools, minus what occurs at Berrigan.
I appreciate that. So the current rate is $3.63. That's including the CPI. That's what our proposed fee is.
Yeah, I don't think,
Has that been changed?
that would have been rounded out, wouldn't it?
No.
It should have been rounded out, but yeah, that'd be the rate you would apply.
And I'm sorry, because I have got quite a few questions. Oh, not sorry. Thank you for your patience with me on this, and to the other councillors. With regards to, fees and charges, I'm just sort of jumping around my questions a little bit. From the Finley Showgrounds and Sporting Complex, they were emailed through in April, and there was no correspondence back from council regarding those to say, thank you, and we note, and we'll refer to them, or we've actually come back with higher fees. So I have a concern that we're asking for our committees to do this, but then there's no communication back around whether we're taking their recommendations into consideration, or thank you, and we have to set a higher fee for these reasons. It just makes it a bit, like, for a committee, seem like a waste of time. Why are we doing this?
Yep. So it doesn't aid the fees and charges that are set at the moment in time, but council's recognise that we need to do more in relation to the communication with committees.
Yeah.
CEO is working with the structure in regards to how that might occur, so that communication should be improved in future. I note it hasn't occurred in regards to this instance. Take on board that feedback, but that is something we are seeking to improve.
Thank you. In regards to the item 22.1.5 around interlibrary loans, it says that there's a fee for $33.61, given we've approved our deed today. Is that for interlibrary loans through that system, or is that for non-reciprocal libraries?
Correct, the second. Anyone outside of the RRL.
So, I know that these are minor adjustments to the fees and charges, but I think that needs to be specified.
We can change the wording to
there.
make sure that when that's available online, that's very specific to be excluding
Thank you.
outside of the RRL.
And regarding 20.2.4.3 maybe, I might have written that down wrong. The sports room and kitchen hire at the Finley Showgrounds and Sporting Complex, it needs to be removed as a place that you can hire, because the Finley Food Share currently runs from that building, so that seems null and void because nobody else can hire that facility.
It is something we're going to have to come back to council.
Okay.
Through reviewing it, there's not exclusive rights of the use of that facility. It clearly is an ongoing arrangement, but it's something that we probably need to formalise. So my recommendation is the fee and charge should remain, but clearly it's unlikely to be applied if we seek a exclusive use for that facility.
Mm-hmm. I am thankful also to the CEO for helping me with, or hearing me out on some of these, and also for your response regarding our future communications and work with our 355s, because they are an important, they play important roles in our community. This and also in regards to one of the my adjustments I recommended prior to today, there's just a language shift I'm wondering, with regards to the lawn cemetery and general cemetery, we've got, currently we've changed it that there is no fee for the interment of a stillborn baby or infant, and the language within that point, or those 2 points, just instead of designated area or head of grave, could we change that to designated area or existing family grave? Is that, I know it's just a language shift in terms of, you know, it's a really sensitive space.
Yeah, correct.
best practice.
We can make that change. The whole intent is obviously not to charge.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate that. It was just the language for that. My final questions, thank you everyone, regarding this, thanks Councillor Hannan, regarding the delivery program and operational plan, regarding the major capital works for Berrigan, the Berrigan Water Tower epoxy coating, it's on page 97 of the document. Is the coating going on the inside or the outside of the water tower?
I'll defer to Gary in relation to that response.
On the inside of the tower?
Yeah.
Great. So that there shouldn't be any impact to the mural that the Tidy Towns and Conservation Group have completed?
Still waiting back on feedback from Alex Paps
Yep.
around the maintenance costs and what his concerns are around a lot of that artwork. But until I get that back from Alex, I can't sort of specify.
No, that's fine. And there is there's obviously some work that they want to do to clean up what has been impacted. The committee were concerned that if there was an epoxy coating going on the outside, it would seal that in, but that's not the case. So any works that council does won't impact that. And I don't want to make the assumption, but I imagine council will communicate with the that committee regarding any works that are happening.
Yeah, the scope and how we do it, there's specialised people that do it. So when we put the tender out around that scope, once we find out how we're looking to do it, we'll come back to council and inform them of all.
Just communication, not consultation. That's letting them know what's happening. Regarding the major capital works for Berrigan pavement works listed on page 98, is pavement another word for footpath?
Sorry.
It's
Yes.
on page 97.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, pavement. So if so, are they aligned with the Berrigan pedestrian access and mobility plan?
They should.
So page 98 of the operations report and the major works, from memory, one of the pavements is through, it's not Baruga Street, or is it? I haven't got it in front of me on that page. But I'm just curious about whether we're recommending those changes and that those works and that they line up with what we've consulted with community and what they want around what's in our PAMP.
So any of the footpath works has been identified through the PAMPs and renewal process there, so yeah.
So the works that were prioritised in the PAMP
Yeah,
within that?
Yep.
Because again, we don't want to consult and then not do what we're hearing from our community. And finally, there are some major capital works listed with no allocated funding beside them across the table. So could you explain why that is?
Some of those yet haven't been fully costed, or some of them actually come out of grant allocation. So to actually break down where the grant allocation was, we couldn't actually achieve within this document. And then that's worked throughout the year. For argument's sake, you might be planning to do a period of road, might rain, you'd reshift to the next project, but all of those projects that have worked there are either funded through grant allocation or council's capital expense.
Okay. And so the ones
some of
that-
these are over 3 years, these grants. So the first year, there mightn't be any spend on that project. It might be the second or third year.
Yeah, and there's just nothing across any of them. So I'm just wondering why they're in there if we're not.
So next year we're seeking to again amend the schedule and the delivery program to identify all of those costings. You'll see at the moment in regards to grant allocations, a lot of that money is put within the finance section, but what we're seeking to do is break that out and put that across.
Thank you. I did just notice one more that I added just now with regards to our operational plan. There's limited reference to youth engagement and youth-focused activities and spendings. We haven't been great at engaging our youth with council or doing activities or spendings in that space, and I'm just wondering, and perhaps there's a question for a future meeting around what our plans are there.
It's certainly, Councillor Hill, it is a very good point you raise, subject to further strategic analysis of what our role is, what our interactions and relationship with our various youth service providers in the municipality and the region, and we'll incorporate that into a future discussion piece at an appropriate time.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Healy. Councillor Brooker was next, and I see other hands. I will get to your...
I just wanted to follow on as well from where Councillor Healy was with the fees and charges for the 355 committees. I had raised that on 2 occasions with no response. I understand we're doing some work with those communities and with those community groups and engaging better, but the current disconnect, I suppose, isn't that the committees aren't told when those fees, what they're suggesting need to be in by, and we're not getting the feedback back to those groups to say, this is what we've set your fees at, this is what you have to charge. So if they're all volunteers, some of them are older, if they don't go and look at these documents, they're going to continue to keep charging what they've already said, and they're not going to match what's on there.
Noted. Councillor Brooker will seek to do better in regards to next year's fees and charges and the level of communication.
I was hoping these ones would go out to somehow, what they're set at, would go out to the groups.
I think Mr Fletcher's talking about next financial year, which starts in 2 weeks.
Excellent. Any other questions? No, Councillor Natakawa?
I guess just trying to clarify in relation to noting that the council will only charge 20 mil access charge for water and sewer. CEO, did you not just state that it was 100 mil? But I'm just...
It's the actual charge, not the volume, isn't it?
Yeah.
So within the fees and charges, the access charges for water and sewer are based on a millimetre size, and they range from 20 to 100 millimetres. What this recommendation is stating is that we will only be charging the fee that's included in the 20 millimetre charge.
Okay.
Which that fee, just for clarity, is CPI on the fee that was charged this financial year.
Yeah.
And that's irrelevant of the actual
Correct.
The reason for that is that we had to prepare these documents prior to the rescind recommendation. So the rescind recommendation takes precedence, but with incorporated in this, yes, the terminology is technically incorrect, but the fee applicable will only apply if the terminology was correct. So that is at the lowest level.
Thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
I think it's a typo, and my apology for not picking it up earlier prior to the council meeting, but because it's going potentially to be a public document, in disposable category 1 without appropriate pre-treatment, you've got a percentage increase of 9,900%.
Sorry, can you refer to a page or?
It's just under disposable. What's the page? Page 25. I'm sure it's a typo, just pointing it out for correction.
There's also one spelling mistake on page 54.
Can we submit our spelling mistakes rather than make them a point of discussion? Yep, cool.
I did as well, yes. Yep.
I only brought this up because it's a financial impact.
Yeah. And if we can take those into account. Thank you, before publication. Beautiful. Any other questions? So we do have a recommendation, but did you want to recommend an amendment in light of the truck wash situation to the recommendation, CEO? Okay, you've got that in front of me. So I'll read for the benefit of everybody what we now have as a recommendation, and then we can consider if we have a mover and seconder, blah, blah. So the council adopt the integrated planning and reporting documents delivery program 25-2029, incorporating the operational plan 26-27, statement of revenue and capital works program 26-27, fees and charges 2026-27, noting that council will only charge the 20 millimetre access charge for water and sewer. noting that truck wash costings will remain the same in the fees and charges for 25, remain the same as the fees and charges for 2020, 25, 26, with a report to be brought back to council detailing the actual costs associated with the truck washing. I think there's something missing there. And to determine future fees. And then we might also say noting other fees and edits as discussed, as an extra point.
What's the next?
Can I just have some clarification on the fees and charges for the 2025-26? Are we charging at $1.36 or $1.50?
Whilst during the meeting, Avdata, on their website, if you go on their website, the fees that are stated on there are excluding GST. Our fees listed in the fees and charges are inclusive of GST, so our fees are $1.50 inclusive of GST. Avdata is exclusive.
Okay, so that recommendation will reappear in front of us in a moment. Okay, so we've got noting that truck wash costings remain the same as the fees and charges 25, 26 until a report is brought back to council detailing the actual costs and to determine future fees. So,
Excuse me, Mayor.
yeah,
With that addition there, and I'm not sure if this is the right time for me, whilst we're working this out, following from Councillor Stringer noting that by his calculations, if it was $1.06, I think, to cover our costs based on the number that our director provided before, could we actually put a rate in there that's not consistent with last year if that is already...
that's for debate, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So we can't recommend them, we can't amend a motion with a specific price and then debate that.
We can, but I think we start with this and then
Okay.
we can come back with that. Really just trying to put a...
That's fine, yeah, I know, sorry, yeah.
Excuse me, Matt. Are we able to add in there somewhere around the fact that whether we're going to look at using filtered water or unfiltered? Or is that just going, I'm not sure if it needs to be listed there, or whether that comes back in the
So
report.
this is all what's been recommended. We'll get
Yep.
to those details, but I think generally that's
Yep.
what we're asking for. Anything, we all have, is this your recommendation at this point?
It is. I think the specifics insofar as the mechanics and perhaps an inconsistency with whether it's X or inclusive GST, that will be brought back in detail with the report, and council will have an opportunity to consider all those matters and make a necessary adjustment at that point in time. The only other point I would make, Mayor, is on the fourth dot point there, noting other fees and edits as discussed. I would just include a delegation to the CEO to make any non-material changes as per that matter.
Okay. All right, so that will be back in a second on our screen. All right, so this isn't actually an amendment, this is a recommendation, so the action at the top should not say amendment anyway. So the recommendation is that council adopt the integrated planning and reporting documents, delivery program 25 to 29, incorporating the operational plan 26-27, statement of revenue and capital works program 2026-27, fees and charges 26-27, noting that council will only charge the 20mm access charges for water and sewer, noting that truck wash costings remain the same as the fees and charges 25-26 until a report is brought back to council detailing the actual costings associated with truck washing and to determine future fees, and noting other fees and edits as discussed, that delegation to the CEO to be make any changes required, and the long-term financial plan 26 to 2036. Do we have a mover of that recommendation? Councillor Stringer. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Brooker. Would you like to speak in favour of that, Councillor Stringer?
It's exactly right what we've got there, and I think it'll work fine.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone wish to speak against or suggest anything in the alternative?
Suggesting with regards to the current fee for the truck wash, that we set a price that is lower than what the 2025-26 fee was. We've heard from.
So you'd like to propose an amendment for the fee to be what value? Have you got a value?
Well, I had a value coming in that to be comparable to our neighbouring regional facilities that provide the unfiltered water, which was to 85 cents. Based on what Councillor Stringer has said, $1.06 is what I would.
So you'd like to move an amendment. We will debate this, so everyone hold your horses. So note that the truck wash costings be reduced to $1.06
Yep.
ex GST. We're going to have to be clear if
Yeah,
we're going to
no,
be that
no.
specific.
Including.
$1.06. Oh. Can I have the screen? back?
$1.06 per minute.
$1.06 Inc. GST until a report be brought back to council, etc., etc. That's the amendment
Yeah,
that you're
thank you.
proposing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus GST, sorry.
Yeah, it would have to be $1.06
Oh,
plus
it's an annoying
GST.
number.
We've got
A
to
dollar-
do the amendment if they don't agree to it. I've got to do that first.
Can we change that so that it's including GST? It would be $1.16. Is that right? Okay, sorry, that's right.
Okay. So, mover, are you happy with that change? Would you agree with that change?
Until the report comes in, yes.
At $1.06 plus GST?
Yep.
Seconder, would you agree with that change?
I just wanted to double check those figures that Gary gave us, because when Gary gave us those figures, I calculated it on my phone, and I believe I got $1.60, not $1.06. But I just cleared them off.
Yeah, 'cause-
Sorry.
yeah.
Could I just make a point here? I don't think the presentation for today was about the existing prices. I think it was about the increase in prices. I think what we're putting here is we're saying that we're keeping the existing prices at what the fees and charges were for the year gone past, and we will revisit the figure going forward. All due respect, doing the calculations off the side on your phone is not good practice around
Can we
the
get that?
table.
I agree with you, but let's wait for
So
the
let's,
debate.
my thing is we just leave it as it is, the charge as it is.
So,
First move and second, and if it's not, is that where you're at, Mayor?
let's just take a breath, everyone. So, we had an original motion that said we retain the fees and charges. We've had an amendment suggested that we make them $1.06 plus GST. Oh, that's the figure?
Yep, that's it.
Councillor Stringer as the mover and Councillor Brooker as the seconder. Do you agree to that change? Because that is what we will vote on if you do.
Until the
How long
report
is
comes
it going to
back.
take to get the report back?
Well, it's quite detailed by the sound, so it's going to be
Yeah.
at least
The
2
mo-
3 months.
Yeah, the more I think about it, no, I don't agree with it.
Okay, all right.
I think we should just hold the fee. They weren't complaining about the fee being as it is,
Yep.
as Councillor Hannon said.
All right.
They were complaining about it being increased.
Okay, so Councillor Healy, you would like to move an amendment? Okay, does someone wish to second the amendment? Being, and only the amendment, only those words, truck wash costs be reduced to $1.06 plus GST until a report has been brought back to council. Anyone wish to second that?
I'll second.
Councillor Payne will second that. Okay. Would you like to now speak in favour of that, and then we will ask if anyone wishes
Thank
not.
you. And I appreciate Councillor Hannon's comments about it being done on the side of the desk. And I know that they're also not complaining about the previous, but they are also complaining that the previous rates were set too high. We are not comparable to our neighbouring facilities. We've heard that, and we also will not hear from people that are choosing to use other truck washing facilities outside our shire. So not lowering the rate may create a genuine biosecurity risk, and we're potentially increasing the risk of like weed seeds or livestock diseases spreading through the shire. And I don't know if anybody's ever driven behind a truck that hasn't been washed out, but I have in the last month, and it's definitely not something that we want to be having or encouraging on our roads. So whilst it was stated today that perhaps the costs aren't being passed to primary producers, we don't know that for sure. We can't I would think that that would be happening, and that they're already experiencing tougher times, that by not reducing this, even in the temporary, it's not actually, I'm not getting to I'm not, like you said before, take a breath. Yeah, I just think that we have the potential not only for that biosecurity risk, but also reducing our fee will attract the other carriers back to our area to use their facilities, which will increase the volume and securing the long-term cost recovery.
Thank you, Councillor Healy. Would someone wish to speak against Councillor Hannan?
Yeah, I'd like to speak against if I could. And all due respect to the comments that Councillor Healy has raised, and I believe they're in good faith. However, the people that came and presented today, they actually suggested that we reduce the price to 65 cents. So we are not actually listening to what they are saying in the first place. I believe that for transparency, we keep the cost at the same charges, at the same cost of the last financial year until the investigation is done. For one, are we charging at filtered water, unfiltered water? Do we need to be using filtered water, unfiltered water? I just think it becomes very, very messy. At the moment, we can leave the charges as they are because there is a fee there, and we can have this debate once all the relevant information comes back, and then we can get somewhere to whether it's what Councillor Healy suggests or what the people that are actually using the facility suggest.
Yep. Councillor Healy, anything in response?
I don't believe that we don't need to do something now in terms of it being messy or not. It doesn't have to be messy. We don't know. We've got 3 months potentially for a report to come back. I don't think that changing the fee for 3 months is going to be particularly messy for us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brooker?
Sorry, can I just add on to that though? If we drop that fee down to $1.06 and it does come back and our figures are correct and we do need to charge $1.60, that's going to be a larger jump, where if we keep it the same as what it is and it comes back that we can drop that fee more, that's going to be better, I believe, for the consumer than dropping it now and then doubling it if we have to, or than the bigger increase.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I don't believe that that's a big issue because they're already expecting it to be $1.60, and so if there's a reprieve for a few months, knowing that we're looking into the actual costs and will be provided with the report, it's not that they're not expecting. That was what they were originally coming to expect. Does that? Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Dennis, for or against?
Hmm.
We're debating here. All right, last words then. Go ahead.
It was more about the timing of the report and the urgency.
Okay, hang on.
put
We're
it, so
talking.
it's-
We're still debating the amendment. So, anyone else on the amendment? So hold that thought. All right.
I'm for.
Oh, sorry.
John?
On the amendment.
Yeah, on the amendment.
Yeah.
I'm with Councillor Hannan on this. I think we should just leave it as it is, so that we get the report done and then we can either discount it or we can prove in writing that it's got to go up. It's not up to us to decide whether a bloke washes his truck out with filtered or unfiltered water. That's their decision, not ours. And travelling behind a truck that hasn't been washed is no different to travelling behind one that's full of cattle that are doing the same thing. Yeah.
It's very different.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stringer. Councillor Payne.
I am for, obviously. There has been communications, I've been speaking with a few truck drivers that do cart livestock, and they are avoiding Berrigan because of the current costs and going to Shepparton and Deniliquin, which does give us a major biosecurity issue in its own. Cattle can give you many diseases travelling behind one, and if they are avoiding washing out here because of the cost of living and things, I don't see why dropping it and giving them an excise like we did with our fuel, the government did with the fuel, is much of an issue at all. I think it would benefit some of these local farmers and contractors that are moving livestock around that are a major part in our regional area.
Okay, I think it's time to put this.
Yep.
So it's the amendment, which is truck wash costing to be reduced to $1.06 plus GST until a report has been brought back. It's not the whole thing, so let's be clear. All in favour of the amendment, hand up. Okay, all against the amendment? Okay, that failed. So we're now back to the original motion. Now, you had something to say in relation to that, councillor Dennis.
For the report to be urgent and done as soon as possible on the urgency of that to make sure the costs are correct.
So you're proposing an amendment that the report is to be brought back as soon as possible.
Correct.
Who was our, I don't think you were the original mover, councillor Dennis. No, the original mover was councillor Stringer and the seconder was councillor Brooker. Are you in favour of changing that to as soon as possible, the report being as soon as possible?
No, that's fine.
Yep, okay. A mover and seconder agree to that. Yeah.
Mayor, if I could just perhaps give some process
Yeah.
indication to council. The organisation has done quite a bit of work in analysing this since Friday when we were first brought, or the submission was first brought to our attention, although it's been a preliminary evaluation as the Director of Infrastructure has indicated. If there is going to be a change to the fees and charges, that will require going back on public exhibition for 28 days. So whilst we will try as best as possible to fast track the report, I do need to inform council of the notice period, and by the time that is then incorporated into a further amended report, we could be looking at a number of months.
Yep, which I think we knew. Okay, anything else?
Just regarding the third point, noting other fees and edits, and I'm not sure if this detail needs to be in there, CEO, that we amend the fees for the Finley Showgrounds and Sporting Complex to be consistent with their recommended. Oh, well, and I also appreciate from what I learnt before that you take those into consideration and then also look at costings and CPI. So as I speak out loud, perhaps that it's communicated back to that group why those fees, there's a disconnect, right? That they've set lower fees slightly, not massively different, but they have an expectation of us and we haven't communicated something back.
Can we add and communicate accordingly to the last point? And would our mover and seconder be happy with that? It's at the end. Yeah, and to go at the end of the sentence.
Okay. It's under pressure. You do.
Councillors, when we finish with this matter, would you like a break or would you like to push on? There's not that much left. Push on. Have we got the words there? Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right, we're going to put this vote. So this is for the whole thing. We adopt this is monumentous, adopt the integrated planning and reporting documents, delivery program 25 to 29, incorporating the operational plan 26-27, statement of revenue, capital works program, fees and charges 26-27, noting the council will only charge the 20 mil access charge for water and sewer, noting the truck wash costings remain the same as fees and charges for 25-26 until a report be brought back to council as soon as possible, detailing the actual costings associated with the truck washing, determine future fees, long-term financial plan 26-36, and also in relation to the fees, noting other fees and edits as discussed, that delegation to the SAD to make any changes required and communicated accordingly, or in favour of what we have there on our screens. Thank you, carried. Well done, everyone. Good debate. 9:13. We have the rates resolution for 26-27 from the Director of Corporate Services.
Councillors, within this report, it highlights all of the charges that are charged within the general rates notice and also within the water consumption notice. This is a requirement under the Local Government Act. This recommendation also recommends that council adopts the full rate peg, which is set by the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal. Any questions?
Any questions? No. Okay, thank you. So we have a recommendation that council make and levy the rates and charges for 26-27 financial year as set out below. Ordinary rates that Berrigan Shire Council will make and levy the following as per the table in the report. Ad valorem amounts as the ordinary rate for the period 1 July 26 to 30 June 2027 as presented in accordance with sections 534, 535, 536, 537 and 543 of the LGA 1993. Domestic waste management and non-residential waste management, the Berrigan Shire Council will make and levy the following as per the table in the report. Charges for the period 1 July 2026 to 30 June 27 to meet the costs associated with the collection, disposal and recycling of waste in accordance with sections 496, 501, 504 and 543 of the LGA 1993. Water and sewerage charges, the Berrigan Shire Council will make and levy the following as per the table in the report. Water charges for the period 1 July 26 to 30 June 2027 in accordance with sections 501, 502, 543, 552 of the LGA 1993, as well as reflecting the requirements of the Council of Australian Governments through New South Wales Water, Supply, Sewerage and Trade Wasting Pricing Guidelines. And lastly, stormwater charges that Berrigan Shire Council will make and levy the following as per the table in the report. Stormwater management service charges for the period 1 July 26 to July 27 in accordance with sections 496A and 543 of the LGA 1993 and clauses 125A and 125AA of the Local Government General Regulation 2005. Do we have a mover?
I do. I just have a question about point 4. Should that not be till 1st of July 26 to 30 June 27?
It's a typo. Sorry. We'll get that fixed up. Thank you.
Mover, Councillor Natikoa. Seconder, Councillor Hannan. Mover, would you like to speak in favour?
I think we've got the rate peg, so we need, and this is ultimately our main source of revenue. So I don't believe we have many other options.
Okay, thank you. Any speak against? Okay, put that to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. We're up to notices of motion, of which I have one which relates to rabbits. That last point should be a separate point. I'm moving that a report be brought to the July Council meeting outlining options, costs and recommendations for remediating rabbits, council-operated reserves, including Baruga Cemetery, Baruga Rec Reserve and other reserves where excessive rabbit activity has been identified, and that council advocate to the New South Wales state and federal governments for the establishment of a strengthened regional control process. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Brooker seconded, but Councillor Payne would like to add some additional sites.
Thank you. I'd like to add Berrigan Sports Ground, Berrigan Cemetery and Berrigan Police Paddock to ensure they are also included.
I'm happy with that.
And could I also add the Berrigan Caravan Park?
Isn't it covered in the...
With other excessive
I just
rabbit
wasn't sure.
activity.
I wasn't sure if that was an identified place.
It's going to be the pony club, it's going to be...
Yeah.
Okay.
How
okay.
will we, so I have a
Okay,
question.
can we, council reserves. All right, everyone. I think excessive rabbit activity was a term that I coined and one that I think is reasonably self-explanatory. So let's leave it. And can I flag for all councillors to please email the CEO anywhere where they believe there is excessive rabbit activity? I'm going to become known for this term.
Is that for us to do, or is that putting it out to our 355s that manage those reserves to ask, do you have an issue?
We can do that. I don't think we need to. We can't ask them.
can't do
We
that,
don't
okay.
ask them.
Can't do that. You also need department approval, even from council, to undertake the task.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll get reports about. Anyway, we'll get a report. That was the motion. Everyone happy to communicate where they think there's excessive rabbit activity? All right. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? All right. We'll put that to the vote. Yep. Thank you. Carried. All right. We have the Mayor's report, which I will be very brief. So firstly, I'd like to articulate my congratulations to Barbara and Jim Cullen, who were awarded Medals of Order of Australia in the King's Birthday announcements recently. Lots of work in the community of Tocumwal, particularly in relation to sport, but a whole range of other activities as well. This month, I've had some catch-ups with the CEO, professional development workshops. I attended some AICD events, First Nations Directors Briefing and a local government briefing. Myself and the CEO visited Finley Regional Care last week and saw the facilities there, which are very good. And on Tocumwal with Councillor Stringer and Councillor Dennis, we were meeting with some of the community members outside the IGA. And that's me for this month. Would someone like to move to accept my report? Thank you, Councillor Natikoa. Second to Councillor Dennis. All in favour of accepting that report? Thank you. We have no delegates' reports. We have no confidential matters. We'll move to councillor reports. I'll start with the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Payne.
Nothing from me other than today's meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Natikoa.
Just the ARAC meeting, our councillor development and today's meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Dennis.
The community conversations at Tocumwal on Saturday.
Councillor Brooker.
No, nothing to report for me this month.
The workshops and the statutory meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Hannan. Councillor Stringer.
Oh, that's right, they done it. I was waiting for them. So, Saturday with the Tocumwal residents and just here. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Healy.
In addition to the development training, and today on the 10th of the 6th, I attended the council online training with the Australian Institute of Company Directors and the Tidy Towns and Conservation meeting. We've actually got a tree planting day coming up. The community does this Sunday, which has been communicated with our councillors. On the 15th of the 6th, I attended the Finley Showgrounds and Sporting Complex Committee meeting. Then this Friday, I'll be attending the launch of the Echoes of Bullinginia in Baruga and attending on Sunday the Community Tree Planting Day.
Excellent. Thank you. We have nothing else. So the next ordinary council meeting will be held on 15th of July from 9 a.m. in the council chambers, and I will close today's meeting at 11:36 a.m. Thank you, everyone.